Okay, so Mihoyo has been releasing these really niche supports lately. So supports like Toma, supports like Kujosara, supports like Goro. They've been releasing these really niche supports who very specifically can do one thing really, really, really good, and that's like their main token point. And especially that they're 4-star characters and they get put aligned with certain 5-star characters, they're meant to really be paired with them and they're meant to excel in the situations that they're supposed to be put in. However, even in these specialized slots that they're giving them, there are other conditions that need to be met for them to even reach their full potential by themselves, even. Not even related to the 5-star that they're with, just with them in general. If you don't have certain things along with them just as a character and pairing them with their 5-star, you're not going to get the full potential of these 4-star characters, realistically. And on top of this, these supports require above minimum investment to even be comparable to other 4-star units that exist in the game who end up doing their job way much better and in fact might even be able to do more than these niche characters. And I'm kind of getting the feeling that Mihoyo thinks power creep is already an upcoming issue in this game, when in reality the current power levels aren't really that bad. Of course, characters like Zhongling, Bennett, Sincho, they're really, really good, and in their department, they make other 4-star characters look, like dookie doo-doo, but I don't personally think that they are necessary or required units to have in order to do well in the game. And you could say that for any character. You don't need certain characters to do well in the game. You could even get by with just the starter characters, realistically. Sure, they may not be as efficient, but you can still get by and you can clear endgame content pretty comfortably with them. And also, I don't think that these 3 characters and characters like them are like super inherently game-breakingly overpowered by nature in terms of like their base value as characters. I think because of the stuff around them and just them getting indirectly buffed by other things such as like artifacts coming out and things like that, it's increased their power level to the point where they look overpowered. But if you look at them at like a base value, realistically these characters aren't actually that giga chad, they're not super overpowered at base value. It's mainly just things around them that make them stronger than what they are, per se. And that applies with a lot of characters. A lot of characters indirectly get buffs from things like artifacts and basically increase the power level, but not directly in the character. And I think the good thing about them is that they just happen to have solid kits that just work in a variety of teams. And they're very flexible, which is what makes them strong. You can pretty much slap them into any team comp, and even if it's not as effective, they're bound to just work. At least pretty good. So I think instead of shying away from making characters like these, they should aim to make support characters with 5 stars if they want to do that excel in their niche, but are also strong enough to hold themselves up in comps outside of them. Otherwise, you pretty much turn people off from even wanting to invest in these supports in the very first place. Now, I will say that one, I guess, upside to these niche supports is that it makes choosing which banners to roll on a little bit easier for players to decide on, especially for free-to-play and low-spending players. When people see these niche supports who excel in very little situations, even then aren't as good in those situations compared to other characters sometimes, unless they have, the characters that would benefit from getting these niche supports, these players can honestly just make the simple decision to not pull on their respective banners, especially if they're also not interested in the 5-star character. Oh, insta-skip. Skip it. It's not a hard decision. You can just skip it and you're good. Now, of course, in this case, it only really applies to those who may already have 5-star characters who are attached to these supports and all that. So that's obviously a minority case, but even then, outside of that case, even I would still say these players can make pretty okay and considerable decisions when they see these lackluster 4 stars in banners. And honestly, even if these niche supports were good, I personally think it's way too early for Mihoyo to start slowing down the power creep in this game. This game is only a year old and a little over by date, and I'm kind of surprised that they're already uncomfortable with where the power level is at right now in this game. They should be comfortable making characters near or at the same power level as Bennett, Xinqiu, and Jiangling. Truthfully, I don't think they should be shying away from making characters at these levels, because at these levels, it's not super giga chad game breaking, in my opinion. I don't think these characters are a must have, and that's why I think right now, the power level is pretty okay. Obviously, it's strong right now with these characters, but honestly, it's not super game breaking when playing these characters. It feels good and it feels nice to have these characters, and you feel strong with these characters, but it's not to the point where I feel like, oh, if I didn't have my Bennett here, then like this would have gone like this. Like, I don't feel that way personally when I'm playing the game. I don't feel like I need a character right now. In fact, the only character that I even feel like that feeling with is maybe Ganyu, but even then, I don't really care for Ganyu. So I won't go in depth with that, but even with characters like Ganyu who are really, really strong and almost like a must-have among people in the community, you can still get by with them, and if you're uninterested in them, you're not going to lose a whole lot of value. So while some might not like that there are so many universal and flexible characters, I honestly think that's one of the many good things about this game, is because it allows people to be more flexible with who they want to play, who they want to pull for, who they want to invest in, etc. By having this flexibility, we've been allowed to see interesting and unique comps in this game, even instances of people bringing, non-commonly played characters back to life. Like Kokomi, for example. We're now seeing Sukokomon, whatever the fuck that weird ass comp is. It's weird, and I personally would never do that because the way that playstyle is, there's a lot of specific things you need to play with that. But like things like that, it's fun to look at, and it's fun to have a variety of team comps, and it's fun to see, these people make comps like this in unique fashion. You can even bring characters back to life like Jinyan. Like you can have like Jinyan mains, like Amber mains, like these super heavy invested characters who are inherently bad, but these people make them work and use their strength to their advantage at most. And it's fun to see, and it's a unique spark in this game, and I don't think Mihoyo should be scared to have more flexible units in this game. Now, realistically, the unfortunate reality though, despite flexibility being better for this game, let's be honest, Mihoyo isn't really listening to the majority of the community unless it's an outrage. To be honest, in my opinion, just from looking at what they focus on through updates, it's almost apparent that they focus more on the concerns of either influencers or content creators, or people who are like whales or big spenders, who drive them large amounts of profit. Because at the end of the day, they're a business, they're a company, their main goal is profit. And whoever gives the most profits, they're probably going to listen to their opinion the most and value it the most before the rest of the people. And that's just how businesses and companies work. It's not an inherently negative thing. Well, actually, it kind of is, but like, it's just the nature of companies. But you can't really blame them for valuing their opinion. Now, sadly, because of this, because their opinions are more likely valued than the rest of the community, it requires the majority of the community to make big public outcries in order for Mihoyo to even a glance at it, right? And we've seen this with Zhongli coming out and how they had to change him. We've seen this even with Shenhe recently. People were mad about it. There's like a pretty decent portion of the Chinese fan base who was on their ass about her outfit, and it was really funny to watch. Kind of glad that they kept the little hip slits because I think it makes her unique and it makes her stand out as a character personally. But also, I think Mihoyo has stopped listening to public outcries as often recently, and I think the reason is because people have been outcrying for almost every single character since release. Every single character that has come out, there's always somebody who has negative things to say about the character, or they think that the character is broken, or they think that the character is dog shit, yada yada yada, and they have all these negative things to say about these characters before they even come out. Dude, have you seen the way people have talked about Shenhe? They literally dookie-doo-doo trash on her and non-stop talk about her for months. We're talking months, ever since the first leak back in November. They have non-stop talked about her. We are in January and I still see people trash talking her. And it is so fucking hilarious because it applies to all the other characters too, whether it's justified or unjustified. Even with Raiden Shogun, people felt like they were misled with the whole Beto thing, and while I think they were kind of in the right for that, at the same time, then there are also people who on top of that then started saying that Raiden was a bad unit, which then was like, okay, you're kind of dumb for that because you're wrong. So it's just I think it's just Mihoyo reflecting on how much public outcry has happened and them just choosing which public outcries to really respond to or which ones they really think do matter. And while this selectivity can be funny and, maybe a good thing that they don't listen, there's also things like game breaking problems or even bugs and stuff that still exist in this game that make player experience very bad for these people. And honestly, I think they should start valuing everyone's opinion at more of a flat level than the way they do it now, honestly. Well, alright, thank you for watching. That is all I really have to say. I don't really have too much else to say on this. I just personally think that niche supports aren't necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's way too early for it, and that Mihoyo is way too scared of power creep. They're just too scared of it. I'm gonna make another video sometime this week. I believe it might be coming at either at the end of this week or maybe even sooner. It just depends on how quickly I can get it out. But yeah, goodbye.